but I think this will be easier for us to look at. So I'm going to start down here and I need to measure that length. So I'm going to get my ruler out and I'm going to measure with centimeters because centimeters are easier to do decimals with. There is not. So the reason I'm not doing a Pear Deck is because as soon as we do this example, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and I'm going to have you share it. So if I put you in breakout rooms with a Pear Deck, you can't share. So try to add these in with text boxes and stuff. I know it's going to be frustrating and we'll accommodate for that. So I'm going to do, that's 1.8. You're going to measure on your computer. So my laptop is a different size than yours, so you might not get 1.8. Let's just go with my numbers and you can measure yours when you get into your breakout rooms. So now I'm going to measure the pink side, and that is 3.1. So how do I find the hypotenuse? The purple side. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So in your calculator, you want to do 1.8 squared plus 3.1 squared. How'd you get through it? Because I measured on my computer. If you measure on your computer, your computer is going to be a different size than mine, so you won't get the same numbers. So know that when you're in your groups too, right? The aspect ratio and the size of our screens are all a little bit different unless we're all on the exact same Chromebook. So when you measure on your computer, it's going to be different than measuring it in real life. So we want to do 1.8 squared plus 3.1 squared, and then take the square root. So what do you get when you do that? And we're going to round to the nearest tenth. And you can put it in the chat box too if you get it. 12.9 for sure is C squared. So if C squared equals 12.9, what's C equal? What do I have to do in order to find C? Take the square root, absolutely. So when we take the square root, what do we get? 3.6, perfect. And that's the hypotenuse. So then we're going to go up to the next triangle and we're going to do the two sides. So I'll measure that. And then you can put the number into a text box. So I got 6.3 for that side. And if I measure the top, that's 3.2. So if I know my legs are 6.3 and 3.2, what do I have to do in order to find the hypotenuse? So when we do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, make sure you take that square root. What number do you get? I want to know what c is, yeah. So make sure you take the square root to get c. That's what I got. Do we agree? 7.1? If you don't have your calculator out, you really want your calculator out to practice this, okay? So let's look here. I've got this side, make that orange. That is 2.5. And then I've got this one that is maybe 1.6. And then I want to take the square root of that answer. And what do we get? Absolutely. Yeah, let's round that to 3. Okay. So you're going to measure, once you make your segments, make your right triangles, measure with a ruler your legs, calculate your hypotenuse. We're calculating the hypotenuse to make sure we have a real right triangle that works. If you measure all 3 sides, you're going to have some rounding errors, and then the trig isn't going to work. So you definitely need to use the Pythagorean theorem to find that hypotenuse. Don't skip that step. So if I go back to this pink-purple triangle, let's find this angle. We'll label that x. Do we want to use sine, cosine, or tangent to find that? And we just need to choose one. Should we use sine since it's first? Everybody okay with that? Yeah. So the opposite side is the 1.8 and the hypotenuse is the 3.6. I'm looking for an angle, so I need to use inverse sine. So we're going to use sine inverse, sine -1, and O over H. So 1.8 divided by the H of 3.6. When you put that in your calculator, what is the angle of X? $30 degrees. Do we agree with Mariah? Yeah? Okay. So let's go to our blue triangle and we'll label that R. This time let's use cosine. We're looking for an angle, right? So we've got to use that -1. Inverse cosine is A over H. What's the adjacent side to the R? I've got opposite and hypotenuse, and that makes the 6.3 the adjacent, right? So if cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, we need adjacent over hypotenuse, 6.3 over 7.1. Do we all remember that from last week? Trig is brand new, so what do we get for R when we do that? $27.5. So this is 27.5 degrees. These two are almost equal. We did a pretty good job, right? So if I know that R is 27, what's this angle up here? If I know R is 27, what's the angle up where the light blue and the light green meet? How do I figure that out? Subtract from 90. So what's 90 minus 27.5? 62.5. Awesome. And if I know that my purple angle is 30, what's this angle down here? Right? 60. Yeah, why? Because 90 minus 30 is 60. All right. As if we don't have enough clutter on this slide, let's look for this tiny little angle. And we haven't used TOA yet. So we're going to do tangent inverse because we're looking for an angle. And we want to do O divided by A. So if I'm looking for this angle, what's the O? What's opposite that red angle? 1.6. And what's the A? 2.5 or 3? Don't everybody talk at once. Opposite is on the opposite side. Hypotenuse is always across from the right angle, which means the adjacent is 2.5. So now you want to put this in your calculator. Make sure it's in degree mode. I don't know that we've said that out loud today. 1.6 divided by 2.5. And what do we get for degrees there? 32.6. So the 32.6 goes right here in this dark orange, almost red angle. And that does not match our 62.5, right? That makes me a little sad. But we're going to go with it. And what's this angle up here? This light orange angle. So I know I've got this angle is 32.6. This is right. So what's that angle? $57.4 for this one. 57.4 degrees. Okay. So I know that there's a lot to look at. Step number 1 was make your segments. Step number 2 was make your right triangles. Step number 3 was measure the legs. Step number 4 was calculate the hypotenuse. Step number 5 was calculate the angles and then compare. Okay. We've done this one together. What I'd like to have you guys do is I'd like to put you in breakout rooms. I thought I was exiting that.